Hi, it's nice to meet you.
And you too.
If you want to introduce yourself to the camera.
My name is Julie Vickers.
Yeah. Basically, my first question is, are you grieving?
Right now, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the person that you lost? Like, was it like your dad or your mother? Or?
Well, initially it was my dad.
Yeah.
6.5 years ago. But just recently we've lost 2 aunties and an uncle. In a space of 3 months.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So it's was it like expected, like any of these deaths? Or?
2 of them wasn't expected. One of them was. The 2 that was unexpected, that was very difficult to deal with.
May I ask how they passed away?
One of them, she had a long-term condition. I couldn't even begin to pronounce the condition, but she suffered for over 10 years. Eventually it affected all her organs and shut down. The other auntie, which we just lost just 2 weeks ago, she had stage 4 cancer. So that's what took her.
Okay. You said it's 3 months, right? How long it's been since they passed away, right?
Yeah, probably about 3 months, but just recently, my auntie that we just lost, it's only been 3 weeks. It's only been 3 weeks since she passed away.
Oh, wow.
The other 2 was about 3 months ago.
Oh. What about your dad?
My dad, he passed away 6.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And even though he passed away 6.5 years ago, part of me is still grieving for that loss of my father.
Definitely.
So it's still difficult, especially after other family members that we've just lost recently. It just brings everything back.
Yeah, definitely. So it's safe to say that it's not like your first time grieving then, or is it?
No, not the first time grieving. I think the first time I ever experienced grief, or the first time, was when my grandmother on my mother's side passed away, and I actually saw her take her last breath. She was in the Caribbean. I was in my early 20s, and that was very difficult. That's the first time I was faced with death.
If you want to take it, it's fine.
Sorry, camera. Hello, can I call you back? Alright then, bye.
It's fine, I can always crop. It's fine.
Oh yeah, I forgot you can always cut it out. That was Lisa. Honestly, she's a right wreck, isn't she?
But yeah, you were speaking about your grandmother, right?
Yes, that was the first time actually seeing death, somebody dying, and experiencing full-blown grief.
Right.
Which was really, really hard. It was literally a shock to the system. Even though I've heard of people who have passed away, but to fully experience it.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the big things, because like people talk about it all the time, such as like on TV, when like you perhaps lose a celebrity that you really like.
Yeah.
It's until like you actually knew that person straight.
Exactly.
Like, personally.
Yeah.
That's when you really feel it.
Yeah, because you can't relate to it, can you? When you've heard of other people who've lost somebody, or even you might think, oh, really, it was their family member. You're thinking, oh, crumbs. You can't imagine it until it actually comes at your door and it's happening to you.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so.
So like ever since like you lost these people in your life, how have you been dealing with it? Such as, have you seen psychologist or therapy?
When my dad passed away, probably about 3 to 4 years after he passed away, I realised I was still going through the emotional grieving stage. And decided to speak to my doctor, and decided to get counselling. So I sought out the counselling and stuff, and the counselling really, really helped. really helped me to address a lot of what I was feeling, and to be told that it was just natural, what I was going through and what I was experiencing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Most people usually say that like they usually talk to friends and may just talk to people. Would you say that's something that you did as well?
Yes, I did. As well as get the counselling, I did. But I didn't really talk to the immediate family, because I found that they were too close, too attached to, I suppose, help me with how I was feeling, because they were more or less feeling the same.
Yeah.
So I spoke to a good friend who was away from the family, and the fact that she listened. Yeah, she listened, and she cried when I cried. That helped a lot. And also I come from a spiritual background as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so a lot of my brothers and sisters in my congregation, because that's what we call them, brothers and sisters, a lot of them really helped me, you know, and they prayed with me, which was good, and they read scriptures to me and shared scriptures with me that helped to comfort and to help with the grieving. Yeah.
If you never had this type of treatment or even talking to people, do you fear that? Like, for example, if there was like a time you didn't get to see them, or if you were just alone, do you ever fear that would ever happen to you, and you just got these feelings on your mind?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. I think you would just spiral down into a deep and dark depression, and I think you won't be able to get yourself out of it, because you would just cut off the world basically, and anybody closest to you. You wouldn't want them to talk to you or anything like that. I just think it's a lot worse if you don't open up and talk and share your feelings and your grief and everything else. I think it's worse if you isolate yourself and bottle things up.
Yeah, definitely.
I think personally.
So like you say, like probably like even going out to places, like even if you were to take part in events.
It is. It's still good to kind of. When I look back now, okay, initially, you wanted to cut everybody off and just isolate yourself because you know you were just going through that moment. But looking back now, I think it's best to try and still keep up with your routine.
Yeah.
Things that you would do normally, still try and do. Get out is a big must, because especially if you're in the same environment where you've lost your loved one, that's when it becomes hard. Because you've got all the constant reminders all the time. It's really good, even if you're just going to go out for a walk, if it's an hour, half an hour, anything. But just to get out, even if you have to go and sit out in the back, but just to get out, get a bit of fresh air, kind of like breathe and just kind of, I don't know, refresh your thoughts and then just come back. But when you constantly, like I said, if you don't speak or talk to anybody, then it's a lot worse.
Yeah, definitely. How has this death affected your life, like majorly, like as it affects you psychologically as well as like schedules and stuff like that?
Yeah, it has, and I think it's changed my life now for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Because
I've got to live my life without my dad, and I've never, ever in my life, even when he was alive, could I imagine my life without him in it. Yeah. So I've had to adjust every single day. Him not being in my life. I mean, we used to constantly talk, not having that ear anymore. You know, when I'm feeling a bit low, or I'm feeling down, or I just feel so excited about something, or something great's just happened, and it's like, oh my days, my dad's not here, so I can tell him he's not here, or I can share it with him. That's an everyday thing, and I think I'll definitely have that for the rest of my life.
Just wondering, do you not have like recordings of him, like when you ever spoke?
Yes, I have video footage from years ago when we was in Barbados, and there's times where I do look back on that just to hear his voice. Because
like with most people, like when they hear that voice, it's like a really emotional thing, and even some people don't even have any of those type of voices.
I know. It is hard, but we're very blessed and grateful that we have video footage of him.
Yeah.
You know, where I can hear his voice.
Mm.
And when I do hear it, it's like he's not even gone. It's like he's still here with us. Yeah.
Yeah, because like literally, with my grandfather, like we didn't have any like video footage of him, and like I had to search everywhere until I found this one video. I was actually like just videotaping my cat because we just got her,
Yeah.
and like my grandfather was actually speaking in the background, but you can only hear it like faintly.
Oh.
I think it's just him planning to go to the bookies or something.
Yeah.
Even though it was that, it was still something.
It was
that
still something.
you could hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to hold on to that, it's, oh my goodness. And you see, this is a thing, we can take our loved ones and life for granted and think, oh well, I don't need to video or do a video shot or whatever, but you don't realise until they're not here
Yeah.
how precious that moment is going to be, because you're going to rely on that, aren't you, to see you through and everything else like that. I had, when I took my mum home back to Barbados after Dad passed away, and the answering machine, my dad had recorded his voice on the answering machine. He said, you know, leave your message, and he said, Benjamin Vickers. So what I did, I actually taped that recording and I had it, and I kept playing it, and I kept playing it literally every day. Just had to keep hearing his voice, and it was just him saying his name, Benjamin Vickers, Benjamin Vickers. Till it got to the point where Mum was just fed up with it. She couldn't take it, hearing the voice and that. But for me personally, I had to. It's only now I don't listen to the voice.
Yeah.
I don't listen to it now. I just rely on the memories, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think we as humans need to grieve?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's part and parcel of our emotional being. To be honest, you have to grieve. Because I just believe if you don't grieve at some point, it is going to kill you.
Yeah.
Something very bad will happen, as in you'll bring on some kind of deep, heavy stress that you could have a heart attack, you could bring on a stroke, all these type of things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
1 second, I just need to check the camera. Yeah. So I just get like paranoia thinking, oh, it's not recording. Okay. If you were to like give a picture or give an imaginary picture of like what grief is physically, what would you call it? Or think it looks like?
I don't know what I would call it.
Like, would you imagine it as like a monster or a place, atmosphere?
No, I wouldn't. No, it wouldn't be a monster. It would definitely be a very, very dark place. It would be where I would be literally curled up in a ball. And it's just dark. In a dark place, a dark room, where I'm just curled up, and how I can put it, would be this intense, deep pain in the pit of my stomach. A heaviness, a heavy, intense pain that just wouldn't leave you. That's how I would describe it, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, to most psychologists, they say that there's like 7 stages of grief. At what stage would you call yourself at?
Well, I'm not too sure what the 7 stages are.
Well, basically there's shock, denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and I can't remember one of them, but the other one's acceptance.
Right. Well, I can safely say...
That's psychologists saying it, by the way.
that I can safely say, and I can understand that now. I didn't know what the stages were, but hearing you actually saying it, Sebastian, I went through all of them, and I've got to say, after 6.5 years, I'm at the stage where I've accepted. I've accepted.
Yeah.
I have.
If you wanted to like describe any of those stages to us.
Well, initially when I lost my dad, it was absolutely shock horror because we wasn't expecting it. As far as we was concerned, he was fit and well. Just 2 weeks before he's due to fly back to the Caribbean, his home with my mum. He has a massive heart attack. Didn't know where that come from. as far as he was aware, he never had no signs or inkling that there was issues with his heart. Next minute, you know, we was told initially when he got taken to hospital, the next day we got a phone call 6 o'clock in the morning saying that you need to come now because he's not going to live out literally the afternoon. By midday they were expecting him to go, so we went down and to see how he was the night before to where we saw him the next day, it was absolute shock at the max. Was not expecting it whatsoever. And then to be told that he's not got long, he's not going to live long, he is going to die because of the damage to his heart. It was irreparable, so there was nothing more they could do, it was just time. That was hard. I would say that's where a lot of anger and denial came in, to say why. One of the first questions was why is this happening to my dad, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's only now when I look back and I'm thinking, well, why didn't it happen to my dad? It happens to other people. My father wasn't an exception. You know, it happens to people every day. But yeah, that shock thing was just major, also for me and my mum and for the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Just was not expected, because my father wasn't one of these that was sickly, in and out of the doctors, in and out of hospital or anything like that. So it was a big shock.
Yeah. Did you think, like, being around people, do you think like nobody could understand you, like where you're coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In the early stages, yeah, I thought you don't understand, and I think as well it was hard because a lot of the family and the cousins, they hadn't lost their father or lost a parent, so they couldn't understand, so I couldn't connect with them. It wasn't until obviously in my congregation where a few of the sisters and brothers actually lost their parents, but there was one sister in particular, I remembered her parents died, and her parents died within the year, and I can't remember if it was the mother that died first or it was the father, but it could have been the father and the mother. And she actually, I remember when she was grieving and she came to the Kingdom Hall, and I saw everybody going up to her. She was crying and everybody just saying I'm sorry, and it got to the point where I thought, I don't want to say I'm sorry to this person because everybody's saying it. I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. I couldn't even begin to imagine. So I just went up to her. I couldn't even say I was sorry. I just looked at her and just literally went like that. And she just looked at me and she just to say it's okay. And it wasn't until when I lost my dad and I went back to Kingdom Hall for the first time, and she came up to me and she didn't have to turn around and say I'm sorry. She just looked at me and she just put her arm on me like that, her hand on my arm. That moment I connected with her because I knew previously that she lost her parent, and I'm like, now I know how you feel.
Yeah.
Now I know how it feels. And she didn't have to say one word. So it's that. So it's hard to connect with ones who haven't lost somebody, like a parent, in grief. It's hard to explain to them how you're feeling because all they can do is just imagine what it's like.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not the ones living it. You know, so that was hard. That's hard, finding someone who you can connect with, and you have that connection because obviously you're both going through the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because like with me, like people like say that it's okay, like how I lost my grandfather, but people didn't know like how much of a connection I had.
Exactly.
Because like he was practically my dad.
That's right.
Is like if they knew like my background, they would have more understood then.
Yeah, and even then, I think some of them can't fully understand anyway. They won't be able to fully understand that. The relation, because you see, you've lost two people. You've not only lost your granddad, but you lost that father figure.
Yeah.
That figure that became father to you.
Yeah, it's like if my mum was to have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard for me to say, "You're my new stepdad."
Exactly.
When like I can't call you that because you're not really
yeah.
my dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And some don't get it. Some don't get it. It's not until they go through something similar, or it's some kind of grief that they go through, or some trigger or some trauma or something, where they'll actually get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just like exactly what you said. My dad became father to my daughter.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know her father. So not only did she lose her granddad, but she lost that father figure.
Yeah.
Which was really hard.
Mm.
Like I said, you know, it's some people don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get it, and that's really hard. And it's a shame that they don't get that. How you're feeling, or trying their best to understand where you're coming from with it.
Ever since like you lost these people in your life, have you ever had like a moment of realization, such as what people were there for you and stuff like that, and who were not? And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I know the ones who were there for me, from my dad, even now to who we've lost just recently, family members. But most importantly, my dad, because that's the major loss I've ever experienced in my life, is my dad. And I know who was there for me and who wasn't.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a shame.
Mm.
It's a shame.
Yeah, because like, in my previous one, like a previous person I interviewed, they were saying like they didn't really have that thing where like people didn't support them and stuff like that. But like I was thinking like, are you sure? Because like with me, I had like friends and I thought they were like really close. But like until I realised that you didn't even come to see me or anything, or like all I got was one text. It's like that.
Yeah. It's hard because good family members and good friends, doesn't matter whether it's good times, bad times, grieving time, doesn't matter, happy times, they're supposed to be there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And the ultimate is losing someone and the grieving. You can't get worse than that. The grieving process itself, you can't get worse than that. And that's when you expect ones to be there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's heartbreaking when they're not. But I found that, you know, some of them I did cut off for quite a long time. I cut them off for a long time.
Have you still cut them off to this day?
No, I've kind of, you know.
Was it mainly them coming back to you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of them, one or two of them have actually had to lose somebody themselves in order to come back, and looking to me for comfort and support. But I give it because I know what it's like to go through something like that, and it would be very selfish and unfair of me to keep what helped me, how I went through it, to myself, when I can share it and help somebody else.
Yeah.
So I'm now having to help them.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
How do you feel when like people bring up the topic, like for example, even if they mention your dad's name or any of those people's names?
Well, starting with my dad. To be honest, now at this stage, when they bring up or mention my dad's name, I just feel happy that they've took the time out to think of my dad. And more often than not, they speak about my dad with affection. So and the memory that they have of him, and it was always a happy one. So that makes me feel happy at that stage. Just recently, the aunties that we've lost, when I do hear their names now, because it's still raw, I get a tinge of emotion when I hear their names. And I think just recently, the last auntie that we've lost, hers wasn't expected, and that is quite difficult. And even now, even when I look at her there, I just think, oh my goodness, I just cannot believe that she's not here anymore. You know, and I do have me grieving process where she's concerned. I wouldn't say it's as intense as when I lost my dad, but there's still emotion, feeling there, and especially when I see her husband and her daughter, that just kind of, especially her daughter, it just kind of, oh my days, just fills me with this knot, and I think it's the fact that I can't help her. I know what it's like to grieve and to lose a parent, but I cannot physically help her to take away her pain. I can't. She's got to go through it. So all I can do is, excuse me, is to be there to support where I can, and if she wants to talk, is just to listen. Yeah, you know.
Is there any like special memories you want to share to the viewers about your dad and yourself?
Memories, oh my days. I have so many memories of my dad, all happy, absolutely wonderful memories. He was a very funny character, he was a very funny man, always joking, always laughing, always acting stupid. He was 79, but he was like a 7-year-old. Oh my days, there's so much. There was one in particular when I was in my teens, I was in my 20s, and my cousin came up from Hertfordshire one holiday, and my dad was sleeping, and she decided to make up his face with makeup and lipstick and mascara and eyebrow pencil and blusher, and she did this while he was sleeping. So, and then she did his hair as well, like a little Mohican, and obviously when he woke up, he was unaware that his niece had put all this makeup on his face. So obviously we're all laughing, and we're trying to convince him to go and look in the mirror, and obviously when he did, he burst out laughing, and he actually loved it. He actually loved the makeup being on his face and everything else, and that's what we loved about my dad, is that he was game for a laugh, and he was up for anything. And that's what we miss. And there's lots more memories like that. Him and my mum always play fighting. He would always run up behind her, give her a squeeze and trying to kiss her neck, and she would get her elbow on her foot and try and kick him, but they'd just end up laughing. So it's loads of different things like that, and with other family members. So we've got a wealth of memories that will carry us through till, I suppose, my life is no longer existing, or I'm not here anymore. But yeah, great memories, and that's what keeps us going.
One sec. Okay. And just one more final question. Ever since you lost your father, has anything major happened in your life?
Let's have a look. Major. Yes, I would say so. All good, I would say.
Yeah, mainly positive major.
Yes, yeah. Lots of positive things have happened since my dad's passing. Excuse me. One in particular is because we're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, my mum decided to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses over a year ago, and she got baptised, and my dad was obviously one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was a major positive for us, that if my dad was alive to have seen my mum get baptised, he would have been the happiest man alive. So that was one of the major positives that we've had since my dad's passing. Being a stronger person, mentally and spiritually, because of my faith. Yeah, that has helped a lot. My daughter, looking after my daughter, raising her, that's another major positive as well. That she's at a stage where her grieving is not like the rest, you know, of young ones who can't function. My daughter still does everything. She's happy. She's a happy child. She has her memories and stuff. So yeah, I would say everything has been a positive, even though we've just lost recent family members. But just give thanks. The major positive is that I'm still alive, and I take that as a blessing.
Anyway, thanks for the interview.
You're welcome.
It's nice having you to speak to the viewers about grief.
Thank you.
Cheers.